Before we start, we advise viewers to consider carefully. The following content is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the exact testimony from the federal court during Sean Diddy Combs' trial, reported by Inner City Press. There were no cameras in the room, no live TV coverage, no reporters snapping photos from the gallery. But what happened inside that federal courtroom? The words spoken behind those heavily guarded doors shook every corner of Hollywood. Jamie Foxx, one of the most respected and talented artists of our time, had just taken the stand. According to those present, he wasn't acting at all. His hands trembled, his voice choked up, and then suddenly, he broke down, sobbing and yelling before the jury as he recounted what he had seen on that fateful night inside Sean Diddy Combs' mansion. Leaked notes from the trial transcripts, combined with detailed sketches and witness reports, paint a horrifying picture. This wasn't the Jamie Foxx the public knew, not the confident, charming, unshakable entertainer. This was a man haunted. As his words spilled out, everyone in the courtroom sat frozen like statues. It wasn't just what he saw, it was how it was hidden. Everything seemed staged, protected, and for years no one dared to speak up. The connection between Jamie Foxx and Sean Diddy Combs had been documented for years. In public, they often laughed together, shared friendly banter at after-parties, and even posed for photos that showed luxury, brotherhood, and power. But according to leaked notes from the first week of the federal trial, that brotherhood was just a mask, a carefully crafted illusion shattered on the night Jamie accepted an overnight invitation to Diddy's notorious mansion. In his emotional testimony, Jamie began by explaining the relationship. "We all wanted to be part of that circle," he said. "Diddy's house was where music, deals, and energy lived. It was like stepping into a palace of influence." But what Jamie didn't realize, according to his sworn statement, was that some parties weren't meant for celebration, they were meant for initiation. That night, Foxx recalled being led into a private section of the mansion after an evening of heavy drinking and lavish relaxation. There were people he didn't recognize, people who weren't artists, producers, or executives, people who seemed uncomfortable. His voice reportedly dropped to a whisper. "They told me to stay, relax, that Diddy had a surprise." He described the shift in atmosphere, how the lights dimmed, laughter faded, and guests began splitting off into smaller, more secretive rooms. One of Diddy's assistants supposedly escorted Foxx to a soundproof theater inside the mansion, where a video had already been prepared. "I was confused. I didn't know what was going on. They said this was where we connect." Foxx said what happened next left him mentally shattered for years. "It wasn't anything I had ever seen before. I didn't know if it was real or staged, but I knew how I felt. My stomach twisted. I stood up. I wanted to leave, but the door was locked. They told me to watch and said, 'Anyone with experience has been through this.'" According to a reporter who spoke with someone present in the courtroom, his story sent chills through the entire room. Foxx is said to have paused, took a deep breath, and said, "I never wanted to witness that. And since then, I've spent every day trying to forget it." According to the transcript, the judge called for a 5-minute recess so Foxx could regain his composure. After the break, Foxx returned to the witness stand with red, watery eyes and trembling hands. The courtroom fell silent again, and what happened next was described as a devastating unraveling of Hollywood's most whispered about secret protecting power at all costs. Jaime recounted, "When I tried to leave that night, they handed me a drink, saying it would calm me down. I didn't drink it. I just said I had to go. I remember Diddy looked at me coldly, like he knew what I saw but didn't care, as if it was all part of the plan. But the emotional damage wasn't the worst blow to the court. It was the aftermath." Foxx claimed that in the days that followed, calls started coming in. They weren't exactly threats, just reminders to stay silent, keep your distance. "They offered me a deal, an NDA wrapped in a 7-figure check. He refused, but according to him, that's when the pushback began." Foxx testified that for years after, he faced a steady decline in major film offers, unexplained delays in project funding, and alienation from producers who once called him a star. It was cold, quiet, but very real, and I knew why. The court transcript quotes him saying, "I watched my career disappear. People who ask questions just vanish from the conversation. Not dead, just erased." Then he went on to describe how other celebrities had confided in him over the years with similar experiences, but too scared to speak out. "You think I'm the only one. You think I'm brave. I'm not. I'm just tired." A heavy sigh echoed across the gallery when Foxx mentioned 3 other famous artists he claims were at the mansion during a similar party. These names were edited out of the official court records, but multiple sources say one was a Grammy-winning rapper, another was a beloved late-night host, and the third was a famous actress known for her social activism. Jamie Foxx ended this part of his testimony with the words, "We smile, wear suits, sunglasses, but behind that, many of us are broken. There are things you just can't unsee." The courtroom grew heavier when Jamie Foxx leaned forward to explain the most chilling part of his experience. Not just what he saw that night at Diddy's mansion, but what he learned afterward. What started as a disturbing, surreal encounter turned into something much deeper, far more calculated and terrifying than he ever imagined. This wasn't just a strange party or a few inappropriate incidents. It was about systematic control, leverage, and blackmail. Jamie's tone shifted from emotional to analytical as he spoke about the existence of a hidden archive, a vault of digital recordings stored on a privately encrypted server somewhere in Diddy's compound. He hadn't seen the room himself, but he insisted that several insiders, including a former house manager and 2 security guards who've since vanished from the public eye, had confirmed its existence. They described it as a complete surveillance hub with monitors, secure hard drives, and locked cabinets that only a select few had access to. "They keep everything," Jamie said, pausing as the weight of those words sank in. "Not just clips of people partying. They filmed what they knew no one wanted out there. They recorded without consent, hidden cameras, some in bedrooms, others in hallways, bathrooms. People had no idea. You'd think it was just a wild night. But what you don't know is that someone was always recording." He explained that the collection wasn't just a hobby or a trophy room. According to him, it was a secret currency, footage of celebrities, politicians, executives, athletes. Jamie said many of them had no clue they were caught on camera in compromising situations. Some were drunk, others involved in behavior you could only describe as disturbing or non-consensual. He added that it wasn't just about watching, it was about owning people, making sure no one could fight back. It was insurance. Jamie recalled a moment a few months after his visit to the mansion. A package was sent to his production office. No return address, just his name written in sharp black marker. Inside was a flash drive and a distorted video. Grainy footage of the screening room where Jamie had been that night. His face and reactions were caught on a hidden camera. The angle made it clear he was not at all. He knew this was coming. No sound, just his expression as he watched what was playing on the screen. The last frame on the drive was a black screen with one simple phrase, "Remember this." Jamie said he stared at that screen for over an hour. That night, he didn't sleep. "I think it was a warning," he said. "Someone told me, 'We see you. We own your silence.' And honestly, after that, I kept quiet. I didn't know who to trust. Every time I saw another story hit the headlines, another person charged, or some mysterious figure stepping back of the industry, I wondered if those people were caught on tape." He alleged these archives have been exploited many times, used to stop lawsuits, silence accusers, even force people who cut ties privately with Diddy to publicly confirm or support him. Some of the friends you see out there defending him, Jaime says they don't defend him because they like him. They defend him because they're scared, because they don't want their tapes to get out. One of the most damning moments in the testimony was when Jaime described a midnight phone call he got from a famous actress who had also stayed at that mansion. He didn't reveal her name in court, but described her as someone America sees as a sweetheart. She was crying. She said she'd received a video showing her passed out, with someone hovering over her, a person she didn't recognize. She was panicked. She didn't know if things went further. She didn't know if anyone would believe her, and I didn't know what to say to her. Foxx admitted. The judge requested a recess after this segment, reportedly concerned about the emotional toll on Foxx, who was visibly distressed. Before stepping down to take a break, Jaime made one final chilling comment. They don't just collect secrets, they create silence. They build a cage made from your worst moments, and then they hold the keys. By this point, the mood in the courtroom had completely shifted. This wasn't just about one man's crimes. It was about the power of a widespread system built on manipulation, fear, and control. And the longer Jaime spoke, the clearer it became that Diddy's empire, if it was real, wasn't just built on music or business deals. It was built on leverage. The kind that not only ruins careers, the kind that destroys lives. When the trial resumed after a short break, Jaime Foxx returned to the stand, clearly shaken but more determined. What he said next stunned the courtroom into silence. He recounted that several weeks after receiving the flash drive, two men approached him outside a restaurant in Los Angeles, dressed like security or bodyguards. They didn't reveal their identities. One just handed him a phone, saying the person wanted to talk and step back. On the other end was Diddy, calm, composed voice. Diddy didn't directly threaten Jaime, but what he said gave Jaime chills. I hope you're not planning to say anything you'll regret. Diddy reportedly said, that's the kind of thing that can ruin a legacy. You're a legend. Jaime, don't lose that over something that's not your business. Not just words. It was a warning that Diddy was watching. He said he could reach him anywhere, anytime. Jaime testified that after that call, he found himself constantly looking over his shoulder. He changed his phone, canceled appearances, and started moving around with his own security. He said he believed it wasn't a coincidence that right after that meeting, a story popped up on a gossip site, hinting that Jaime was involved in a scandal he insisted was fabricated. It was a warning. He said it was like telling me, we can spin a lie about you just as fast as we can destroy you with the truth. In court, Jaime explained that Diddy's world wasn't just about fame and wealth, it was about surveillance, silence, and power. He described how party guests were often asked to hand over their phones, supposedly for privacy reasons. But after what he went through, Jaime said he believed those phones were copied. He claimed insiders told him messages, contacts, even voicemails were copied and stored. People think the danger lies in what they did at those parties, Jaime said. But the real danger is what they take from you. Your data, your voice, your fears. A prosecutor presented evidence of NDAs signed by dozens of famous guests who attended parties at Diddy's mansion. These documents were more aggressive than typical confidentiality agreements. Some included clauses warning not to share negative experiences or stories in public, and Jaime confirmed that he was asked to sign something similar. He refused, but he said that's when everything changed. His brand endorsement deals started to fall through. A film project he was developing suddenly got dropped by the distributor. Film studios stopped returning calls. It was like I got radioactive overnight. Jaime said, I wasn't blacklisted for doing something wrong. I was blacklisted for not playing along. The courtroom was getting more intense and terrifying. As Jaime dug deeper into what he called the mansion system, he began to describe specific rooms he was shown during overnight stays at Diddy's estate. Rooms not on the blueprints. He recalled being led down a hallway behind a bookshelf that opened into a surveillance control room, run by two quiet men who never made eye contact. Jaime said this wasn't a tour. It felt like an intimidation tactic. He testified that one of the men showed him a screen streaming feeds from all over the house, bedrooms, spa, private lounges. I didn't ask to see any of this. Jaime made clear, but they wanted me to know they had everything. He asked who had access to the recordings. The answer was simple. Only him, meaning Diddy. That night, Jaime was told his bedroom was on a different hallway than where the other guests were staying. He found it strange. The room was lavish but cold. No windows. Cameras clearly visible in the corner. "I didn't feel like a guest," Jaime said. "I felt like a suspect in an interrogation room." He tried to sleep but couldn't. Around 2 a.m., he heard faint music and laughter. He stepped outside and saw a group of people in robes walking down the hallway toward the screening room. Jaime followed from a distance and witnessed what he could only describe as a ritual-like gathering. Guests were handed drinks, some were blindfolded, others were filmed. In the center of the room, Diddy stood, orchestrating everything with a smile. What disturbed Jaime the most was the presence of handlers, men who weren't guests but facilitators. They monitored everyone, made sure the cameras were rolling, whispered in ears. Jaime believes they weren't just filming. They were recording behavior to use as leverage. When the event ended, Jaime returned to his room but found the door was locked. Inside, everything was untouched except a photo of him and Diddy from years ago, now lying on the nightstand. He swore it hadn't been there before. On the back, a handwritten note, "Brotherhood." The handwritten note read, "Brotherhood." On his final day of testimony, Jaime's emotional defenses completely broke down. On his last day on the stand, Jaime's emotional shield completely shattered. His voice cracked as he described a visit he received months later from an FBI agent. The agent, who asked to remain anonymous and is believed to have been investigating Diddy for years, contacted him unofficially. According to Jaime, the agent said there were over 30 sealed complaints related to misconduct, human trafficking, and extortion involving Diddy and his associates, but none had been brought before a grand jury. Jaime asked why. The agent reportedly said, "He's protected high-level connections, people in places you wouldn't believe." That's when Jaime revealed the most shocking info of the trial. He said the agent told him there were sealed documents suggesting a former U.S. president attended at least one of Diddy's exclusive fundraisers, where surveillance footage is believed to exist. Jaime made it clear he didn't know if anything illegal happened, but said it wasn't a coincidence that these high-profile individuals stayed clear of the investigation. Jaime said the agent warned him, "If you go public, you're not just facing Diddy, you're facing the whole machine." He ended his testimony with tears streaming down his face, pleading for justice and hoping the public would understand. This isn't about revenge. It's about stopping something that's been covered up for too long. This is bigger than music, bigger than me. And if anything ever happens to me later, I want the whole world to know I told the truth. As Jamie Foxx continued his testimony, he detailed a cold night during a visit he called the blackout incident. It wasn't just a figure of speech. He described how around 2 a.m., the entire estate suddenly plunged into darkness. At first, Jamie thought it was just a power outage, but something about the timing felt off. The music abruptly stopped. The hallway lights flickered twice, then went silent. He remembered stepping into the hallway where the air felt icy, not just from the AC, but from the tension hanging over the house like a storm cloud. Jamie said everyone was frozen in place. The vibe shifted. No one was laughing. No one was talking. It was like they had been through this before. A tall man in a suit, whom Jamie described as way too serious for a party, came out of one of the rooms and said, "No phones, no cameras. Everyone get inside." Jamie, confused and worried, went back to his room, but his curiosity got the better of him. He sneaked down the hallway, peeking through a cracked door where strange sounds were coming from inside. Whispers, the clinking of metal, then a scream, a strangled, muffled scream. A man. He didn't say who he saw, but he confirmed what he witnessed wasn't some kind of party game, and there was no consent. He saw shadows moving, people standing in a circle, and something that looked like someone tied up. He described a calm woman walking past the room with a small notebook, jotting things down. Then she saw him through the crack in the door. She didn't scream or alert anyone. She just smiled and slammed the door shut right in his face. Jamie stumbled back, stunned. "That's when I knew." He told the jury, "This wasn't a house. It was a theater, a stage where people were turned into props." Jamie's voice cracked as he recalled the final part of his stay, the upstairs level that was strictly off limits. At the party, Guests were told not to go upstairs unless invited. But Jamie, trying to find the restroom and avoid the crowd in the hallway, accidentally opened the wrong door and found himself at the foot of the stairs. The room was dimly lit by emergency red lights, with a faint buzzing sound coming from above. He swore he saw two people whispering at the top of the stairs. One of them looked right at him. "You lost," the man asked coldly. Jamie apologized and turned back. But before leaving, he caught a glimpse of what looked like a thick black curtain or a bedsheet hanging in the hallway. Below it, a faint white light flickered. "That's where I figured they kept the good stuff," he said sarcastically. It wasn't about fun, but about evidence, secrets, control. Then a friend told him the upstairs was where the meetings happened. Jaime asked, "What kind of meetings?" The answer was, "The kind where people give up something to get something else." That line haunted him for years. As Jaime Foxx's testimony was wrapping up, the prosecutor asked the question everyone was waiting to hear. "Why didn't you come forward sooner?" Jaime looked down, took a deep breath, and began. He admitted he was scared. "This isn't something that fits my career. Forget that. I was scared for my life, for my family, and for the people close to me. You don't understand the reach of this man. It's not just music. It's silence. He makes people disappear, if not physically, then through connections, the industry, protection. Ask anyone who's tried." He recounted cases over the years where those who challenged or exposed Diddy faced immediate consequences, lawsuits, shutdowns, surveillance, or unexplained firings. He said you get frozen out. They don't have to kill you. They just erase you. But as the stories piled up, Cassie's testimony, leaks from staff, the federal investigation, Jaime knew it was time. "If I stay silent now, it means I'm complicit, and I can't live like that anymore." His final words in court shook everyone. Everyone thinks Hollywood is built on dreams. But the truth is, it's built on secrets. And this man has collected more secrets than anyone. I just hope speaking out breaks the curse he's placed on all of us. The judge called for a recess. And as Jaime returned to his seat, reporters noticed some jurors quietly wiping away tears. The silence that followed wasn't just from the courtroom. It was the kind of silence that comes with reflection, the kind that hits when a celebrity's world crumbles, and the truth has nowhere left to hide.